Hey everyone, welcome to the Wild Rift Patch Notes 3.0a, where we will be discussing the different balance changes and focusing on how it affects the competitive landscape. So without further ado, let's get into it. So first and foremost, two new skins, Dragon Slayer Olaf, Infernal Cannon. For me, these are decent skins, but of course, if you want the best Olaf skin, there is no other skin than the Brolaf skin, which is the best Olaf skin by far. Alright, going to the more spicier changes, which would be the champion changes. So first and foremost, Amumu. Bandage toss increased from 8.5 to 9. So for me, this is a negligible buff. Almost nothing. This is just Riot's way of saying, guys, Amumu exists. We buffed him. Try him out. Look at the changes. And let's see what happens. And this is not his problem. For me, Amumu's biggest problem is that his ultimate is easily countered, not even by QSS. It doesn't even force people to buy QSS. All you need is to buy Merc Threads and the Hunter's Titan rune. Once you're able to get 5 stacks of the Hunter's Titan rune, Amumu's ulti is negligible. It's not even 1 second. Even though you're able to get a 5-man ultimate onto the enemy team, if his ultimate is not even long enough for your team to follow up, then it doesn't do anything. It's basically just damage. So for me, if they want to buff Amumu and make him more viable, especially in a competitive setting, they need to nerf the duration of his ultimate. Moving forward, next is Camille. So Camille, one of the most stable competitive picks ever since Season 0 until now. So Camille has been a bit too strong. Yes, this is true. Almost first pick, even banned always in all of the games. So what they're nerfing here is number 1, the tactical sweep. So from 6, 7, 8, 9 to 4, 5, 6, 7, which is a 2% damage nerf. So this is a nerf to lane Camille. Those who max, because one of the best Camille trading patterns right now is to max second skill and to just poke your opponent. You get lifesteal, you poke your opponent, you bring him low, and then you just all in. It makes her lane a lot weaker and gives her a lot more counterplay, which is a good nerf. And another nerf here, which would be the Hextech Ultimatum. So from 100, 150, 200, 10, 15, 20 to 30 base. 15, 20, 25. So I think this is one of a very big nerf to Camille overall. Reduces her all-in potential. What Riot wants here is they want the ultimate for ace. They want the ultimate be used for a snare rather than a tool to burst your opponent. So even though they increased the current health from 20 to 25, it's not enough to offset the damage nerf, because from 200 it's now 30. 170 damage nerf. So even though there's a 5% current health buff, number 1, it's current, so it's not stable, and number 2, it depends on the HP on the opponent. It's very varied. It's a lot different from a 170 base damage, which you would take any time of the day. So another one would be the zone duration of the ultimate from 2.5, 3.25 to 4 to 2, 3, 4. So most of you would think, it's not a big nerf at all. It's still long. 3 seconds, 4 seconds. Once I get my second level on my ulti, level 3, the nerfs are useless. But for me, especially competitively, Camille's ulti is most successful on the level 1. Why? Because it's the time where people do not have stasis yet. People don't buy stasis first item. They usually buy second item. And once they have stasis, once you have your level 2, level 3 ultimate, they already have stasis to counteract your ultimate, which would make your ultimate useless. They could either use it to completely dodge your ultimate or just use it while they're in the Hextech Ultimatum. So big nerf on the Hextech, minor nerf on the tactical sweep. This would give a lot more counterplay. Your team would have to react a lot faster since there's a 0.5 second nerf, and it would help your opponents be able to go away from the ultimate faster. Next would be Draven, Whirling Death. I think this is ultimate from 110 to 130. Not the biggest buff. I think they just increased his execute damage. They want wanted to make people notice Draven more, since he's more of a niche pick right now. From the traditional marksman that we always see, Corki, Lucian, Ezreal, even Vayne popping off in solo queue, but we don't see much Draven. So what Riot wants here, Draven exists. Try to use this guy against especially the Vayne Lulu that has been popping off recently in solo queue. Draven is an excellent pick into them. Next is Gragas. So interesting buff here. After nerfing him in the past few patches, they actually buffed him right now. So the reasoning is that Gragas has been struggling to find his place in the jungle. So what they did here is increase his clear speed and have more opportunities and help him in the jungle. This is more of a jungle buff to help his early clear since he's viable in jungle, but the problem is with the meta right now, it is very fast-paced and Gragas just can't keep up with the fast-paced jungling. Increasing damage by 6 helps his early clear. Once he's able to transition into his AP items, it would make his clear a lot faster. And for me, this is actually a big nerf, big buff competitively, since if Gragas can be flexed into the jungle, if the meta comes where Gragas can be flexed into the jungle, it would make him viable in literally all of the roles. Baron, he's viable. Mid, he's used to usually counter melees like Zed. Jungle with his buff. Support, which is his most pick role right now. And even the ADC marksman, if used with a fasting Senna, one of the best partners for fasting Senna right now. So Gragas priority, stocks are going up. Interesting buff for him. Let's see how teams will use this champion. Next would be Jace. So kinda late nerf for him, since ever since he's been released, people have been crying this guy is OP. You have to ban him every game. If he's open, always first pick in solo queue and competitively. Big nerfs, 6 damage, base damage reduction, 10 move speed on his passive, which would make his chase potential a lot weaker, and his trading patterns a lot give more counterplay on his trading patterns. And then his Shock Blast, which is his bread and butter combo, his poke potential, nerfed as well. So overall, good nerf onto Jace. What the problem is that Jace's laning is really, really strong, and with the base damage nerf, which would also affect his clear as well. He is nerfed in Baron, mid jungle. Let's see how teams can adapt, or even maybe there are some picks that can even counter Jace right now with these nerfs. Next would be Katarina. I think for this patch, this is the most unusual buff for me, since Katarina very strong in solo queue. I always ban her, and they actually increased the damage on her ultimate, giving her more time to reset, because what Katarina just needs to do is to kill just one person, and once that person dies, just gets the reset, everyone dies as well. So the one of the strongest, if not the strongest, snowball mid laner right now in solo queue, Katarina. They decide to buff her. Let's see how it pans out. I disagree with the buff, but I'll always ban her, so I'll never be facing any Katarinas in the future. Next, Lee Sin, another popular pick both in solo queue and competitive, giving him a slight slap in the wrist, nerfing his safeguard by 2 seconds from 15 to 17. Not much, still a strong pick overall. They're saying, we're making Lee Sin, they're trying to discourage people from playing Lee Sin, but if you're really good at Lee Sin, you wouldn't feel this nerf at all. This would just give a bit more counterplay. Once Lee Sin uses his second skill to go in, he can't just use his second skill to just go out. He has to wait a bit longer. Overall, still a strong pick overall, both solo queue and competitive. Next, Morgana. This is very interesting for me. They increased her armor because it said is that Morgana has been terrorizing her opponents in mid lane with her reliable utility and damage, toning how their wave clear and damage and ultimate while increasing her durability, so she can still torment her opponents in the dragon lane. So what Riot is saying is that he's very OP in the mid lane, which I barely see any Morgana in the mid lane. If there's any Morgana, it's always in the dragon lane or even support, or sometimes even the jungle. So increasing her armor buffs her dragon lane, since her level 1, level 2, level 3 is very weak and very susceptible to all-ins. Especially if the opponent is Lucian Trash, you know, you can just all-in a Morgana level 1, level 2 and she can't do anything since she has no damage. So, even though they nerfed her wave clearing, which is the Tormented Shadows and Shoal Shackles, so what they nerfed here, nerfed by 2 damage, which is almost nothing. It ticks for 5 seconds, so 10 damage. Not much, especially if you have Liandry, you can still clear the wave, the ranged minions in 1 second skill once it's maxed, and the melees, even the melees as well. Ultimate nerf, not the point of the ultimate. Usually Morganas use the ultimate just to zone control, to put the enemies out, to zone them out, or even stun them. So for me, the buffs, the armor buff is a lot bigger than the nerfs on the second and ultimate. The second skill is really strong. Once she has her Rylai plus Liandry plus weakness, that's when her second skill really hurts. But if she just doesn't have that, it's not that scary. Same with the Soul Shackles, it's more of a zone control. So overall buff for Morgana. Even though it's an adjust, it's an overall buff. Moving forward, Seth. I think Seth has received the biggest nerf for this patch, which is a 6 damage nerf onto the attack speed, a 50% attack speed nerf. They literally have this base attack speed and an attack speed level nerf as well. So if you want to do quick maths on his attack speed nerf, we have a calculator here. So from 2.2 times 15, if he's level 15, he'll have a 33% attack speed. So from 2.2 to 1.7 times 15, 25.5. So 33 minus 25.5, 7.5 attack speed nerf. If you combine it with the base attack speed nerf, it's a 17.5 attack speed nerf, which is super big. I think it's the biggest attack speed nerf I've ever seen in Wild Rift. So, do you think it makes Seth dead? I don't think so. Looking at the other nerfs, they nerfed his right punch by 1, which is 15 damage. If you make it, if you're level 15, not a big nerf. And they nerfed his jungle clear as well, from 200 to 100. So overall, even though he got really big nerfs, it's because he was really OP. Why is he OP? Because he has, number 1, he's tanky. Number 2, his damage output is really high. His DPS is strong. And number 3, he has really good playmaking potential. So they needed to cut one of them. And what they cut is the damage potential. Especially if Seth has the Cleaver plus RK, he can, a Ruin King, he can just 1v1 anyone in the game and win. Basically no counterplay. So very good nerfs for Seth. Still has his durability and his playmaking potential. And I think Seth would be nerfed a lot more counterplay, especially laning against Seth in the Baron lane and mid lane, even in the jungle. But one thing about Seth is that he can still be flexed in the support. I think I'm forecasting in the future, if Seth will be picked, he will be placed in the support position, since he still has his durability and his playmaking potential as well, with the Protobelt third or even the flash ulti onto the enemy on your team, right? So last would be the Vayne. Vayne has been dominating high play. Wow, really? I haven't seen... Well, I only see a solo queue. We're cutting back on our sustain. Okay, so basically they reduced the healing on his second skill and the cooldown as well. So just a slap in the wrist, nothing much. Vayne's still really strong in the meta, especially in solo queue, when paired with an enchanter support. So Vayne is only strong in solo queue for me if he's paired with an enchanter support like Lulu, Nami, Janna, and the like. Since they build Ardent, they help her sustain more in lane, and once it comes to the team fight, if she has 2 items, she can just pop off. So a very strong pick in solo queue, making her way in competitive. Not yet, but soon. It depends on the meta, since the meta in competitive is very AP centric right now. Gameplay changes. Archangels, Staff, Seraph's Embrace. So they reduced the ability haste 25 to 20. And shield for Seraphs from 15 plus 150 to 15 plus 2 15 to 100. So 50 shield nerf and a 5 ability haste nerf. So basically they just nerfed this on champions by Seraphs. I think Orianna. Right now, the only champion I can think of competitively that uses Seraphs is Orianna. And probably Ziggs. But Ziggs, usually players skip Archangels. It depends. Small nerf increases the time where people can cast their skills, but still a very good item overall for mages. Next would be the more interesting item adjustment, which would be the lethality items. Serrated Dirk, Edge of Night, Yomu's, Umbral Glaive. So what they did is they reduced the initial armor penetration of Serrated Dirk, 10 to 8, because what some people would do is that they would buy Serrated Dirk and just go to their next main item since the 10 armor pen is already good enough. And they nerfed Edge of Night, which is the best lethality item right now. Gives a shield and armor pen. Understandable that they nerfed. They want to encourage people to buy the other lethality items which they buffed, which is Ghost Blade 10 to 12 in low-key Lee Sin buff. So even though they nerfed this Safeguard, they increased this damage output by buffing this item. And Umbral Glaive, I think this is the most underrated item right now. It gives you the ability to do freely the ward, to exactly know where the opponent's wards are, and makes you be able to use a yellow trinket for more wards for your team. So this is a very good map control item, and I think teams need to start junglers especially need to start using this. Kha'Zix, Lee Sin, Rengar maybe, but I don't think Rengar. The champions that use armor pen. Dustblade, I think is still 10, so they did not change Dustblade at all. Rune Changes, just one rune change, but it is one of the biggest rune changes. Basically a jungle nerf, because the only role that uses Mastermind, well, I think sometimes ADs use Mastermind, but the most standard rune all junglers use is Mastermind, because in an Mastermind super broken, more damage against objectives, and a 120 gold bonus. So if you want to do some quick maths on how broken Mastermind is, if you're able to get the first 2 objectives, the first dragon, first herald, and the first 3 towers, so that would be 5 objectives, 120 times 5, you basically get 600 free gold, which is an item. 600 free gold on the first objectives, and it just goes higher and higher. That is why Mastermind is super broken, especially if you're on a winning team. So with that nerf, now 40 gold times 5. If you're able to get a snowball, you get all the first objectives, first towers. It is now 200 gold. 400 gold nerf on Mastermind, assuming you get 5 objectives, whether early, mid, or late. So it's just literally one wave or even one jungle camp. That is how big the Mastermind nerf is. And I think this is okay because it encourages junglers to actually choose another rune aside from Mastermind, since this would open people to use Pathfinder, which I think is the next best rune after Mastermind. Hunter Genius, which is used maybe for AP junglers, and then even Sweet Tooth, Mana Flow Band if your jungler struggles with mana. So it opens up a lot of possibilities for junglers. Is Mastermind dead? I don't think it's dead. It's still really strong on junglers that need that split push, like Jax, Fiora, or takes objectives really fast, like Kha'Zix, Rengar. The value for Mastermind is now for taking down objectives faster rather than the gold it gives. Because before, people take Mastermind because of the gold, not because of the bonus damage. So big jungle change. Let's see on how people people would navigate around the Mastermind Nerf. Last but not the least, barrier. They nerfed the shield amount from 115 to 100. So what this does is it encourages laners to actually take ignite instead of barrier, because people before, what people do is that, you know, we don't want to die, take barrier, and no one was trading. No one's going to all in because their opponent has barrier. Now they reduced the shield amount of barrier. They're encouraging laners to take ignite so they could get the bigger trade, since ignite does more damage overall than barrier, which is good. They want more action basically, which is good nerf for the game, and it's also actually a buff for junglers, which would make us gank more easily, which is tower dive, you know, since barrier is a lot weaker, as well as if people take ignite, it's a lot easier to kill them. So good nerf on barrier. I think this is the most used spell after flash and smite, of course. So I think that is it. And overall, I think it is a very good patch competitively. Big 3 is nerfed. It increases the viability of other picks. It makes the meta a lot better. I think they can still be used. Seth, Jace, and Camille still nerfed, but can still be used. But let's see on how teams can adjust moving forward and into the competitive scene. I think Morgana and Gragas' priority will increase since they are flex picks and they just got buffed. So I hope you guys enjoyed our patch rundown, and if you enjoyed, feel free to subscribe to our channel for more analysis and gameplay. That's it for me. Signing off. Peace out. Ciao, ciao. Fearless.